Well, joining me now is Nationals MP Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby, thanks for joining me on the program. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns has said he'll leave it up to police to respond to Palestine Action Group about whether or not they can stage what is clearly a deliberately provocative protest at the Opera House on October 12. Is that good enough?
No, it's not. What we have to do is make sure we remove from Australia the capacity for those who support Hamas to have their because that's what it is. Ultimately, what you see is the support of Hamas. You can bet your life, if they're allowed to have this demonstration at the Opera House, you'll see Hamas banners, you'll see ISIS banners, you'll see Taliban banners, you'll see pictures of the Ayatollah Khomeini with a Kalashnikov. And this is, you've got to remember, it's the Australian soldiers fought against this. They fought against ISIS. They fought against the Taliban. I mean, we don't go celebrating the people who've tried to kill Australian soldiers. We just can remember that, even putting Israel aside and everything else aside. Just be very aware, as an Australian, we don't celebrate and have demonstrations and allow people to put their nomenclature all over Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, and at the same time, ipso facto, support people who were shooting at Australian soldiers. If there's nothing else to think about, just think about that.
Yeah, very good point. I want to get your opinion on the stouse between BHP and China. There's growing pressure on the Albanese government to intervene. Jim Chalmers says, hey, it's a matter between two private companies. Is that good enough for the government to be so hands-off, considering what this is worth to the Australian economy?
Well, what we get out of Mr. Albanese going to China? It just goes to show you the sort of flawed approach. We've got to understand that China is a totalitarian regime and is very, very powerful. And the more power they get, and the more they can extract the power, and the more they can turn us into basically a supplicant state, the more they'll do precisely that. I mean, that is basically, that is basically what this is about, and we've got to make sure that this is what happens when people ring you up in the middle of a call. This is basically what we've got to understand. This is the future for Australia. More and more the pressure will be on our throat. More and more communist China will have the capacity to have a determination on how our nation works. And our job is to become as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. Instead, we're this manic, crazy approach to net zero and other sort of butterfly chasing ideas that are making us weaker. This is a precursor for the future of Australia. Be aware of that.
Well, Barnaby, speaking of net zero and climate change and all associated topics, as you know, the Albanese government is jostling with Turkey over who should host the next UN climate conference. It's being reported today that a deal may have been reached, but have a listen to the deal. Turkey and Australia will co-host the conference. So what do you think of a conference where delegates talk about reducing emissions while flying 12,000 kilometres back and forth between sessions?
It's immoral. It's immoral. It's not. There's nothing renewable about renewable. It's intermittent power. It's a scam. It's an absolute scam. They're roll gold annuities for billionaires to get a guaranteed return from the Australian taxpayer so that billionaires can become multiple billionaires, where companies such as BP and Petros are part of this scam. And not only that, we're going to pay for these scam artists, for these billionaires, to take their corporate jets to Australia and have a wow of an old time, a great time on the Australian taxpayer's ticket, why pensioners can't afford their power bill, why people are becoming poorer, why Australians are basically being pushed into their cars, why we're becoming weaker. We've just had the alumina refinery in Kawana in Western Australia closing down. Now we have the power plant in Gladstone saying they're giving notice that they may close down, which is the alumina industry in Gladstone, the concrete industry, the electrification of the railway lines, our coal loading facilities. This is insane. We're down to 2 oil refineries, record insolvencies in small business. Why? Our steel industry is on its knees. They're all requiring subsidies. Tomago won't stay open unless they get subsidies. What do you want to do to yourself? Are you completely out of your brain supporting this kind of rubbish? I mean, when are you going to realise connection to China, that if you don't become strong, your children, not you because you're too selfish to care, but your children are going to live with a foot on their throat. Does that matter anything to you anymore?
I'm going to take that as a rhetorical question, Barnaby, because I think the answer is, and we all know it, doesn't matter to them. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Appreciate you joining me.